In the winter of 1985, Harry Miller lived a monotonous life in the suburbs of Tampa, Florida. He was a man in his mid-40s, an auto mechanic, with a small shop that barely earned enough to sustain a simple existence. He wasn't married and didn't have many friends, but he always dreamed of an adventure that would break this monotonous routine. One night, while it was raining heavily, he lay on his worn bed and closed his eyes. He quickly fell into a deep sleep, and then the dream came. He found himself in a strange village, unlike any place he had ever seen before. The houses were built of black stone that emitted a faint blue light. The streets were paved with white stones like a moonlit trail. But the strangest of all were the people. They were tall, thin, and their skin was pale, almost gray. Their eyes were large, completely black, with no whites. As if they were beings from another world. But strangely, they weren't frightening, they looked at him as if they'd known him for a long time. An old man, wearing a long, night-colored robe, approached him. He spoke to him in a language he didn't understand, but strangely, he felt the meaning of the words inside his head. "Finally, you're here, Harry. We've been waiting for you." Harry felt a shiver run through his body. How could this be his home? He'd lived his whole life in Florida. He tried to remember his childhood, but suddenly realized he couldn't remember anything before the age of 10. It was as if his life had only just begun at that age. A young girl with silver hair and glowing eyes approached him and placed her hand on his forehead. Suddenly, memories flooded back. He saw himself as a little boy, but he wasn't in Florida, he was in this village. He saw people who looked like him, his real family. They were an ancient people, not humans, but creatures who had lived secretly on Earth, hiding among humans. But one day, they lost one of their own. They lost Harry. He had been sent to the human world decades ago, for reasons he still didn't understand, but now they'd recovered him. He felt dizzy, and then his body slowly began to change. His skin grew paler, his eyes began to dilate, and when he looked down at his hands, they glowed a faint blue, just like the villagers. Harry finally understood. He had never been human. Then, he woke up. He opened his eyes to find himself in his bed in Tampa, but something was different. His hands still glowed with that mysterious blue glow. The adventure had only just begun.